Red level relic, yellow level relic. Red level relic, yellow level relic.
Welcome to
The Cleaning,
a podcast about Apple TV Plus's new show, Silo. My name is Catfish, and with me, as always, is someone who loves eavesdropping on people's personal videos. It's Bubba.
Catfish. Let's not wait a moment. We're talking about Season 1, Episode 9, The Getaway. Racked with guilt, Billings sets off on a personal mission only to discover a mind-blowing clue from Juliette. I want to get to my rating because I'm so amped up. I'm going to give this 9 triple W's out of 10.
Triple W's?
That's right. When you've got a wife with weapon, it's trouble. I knew the episode was going to be great when I saw that double B.
Double B?
Boozing Bernard. When Bernard hits the liquor, the episode gets quicker. I'm telling you, it is good. Juliette, who you've been so tough on, who I've been at various times very frustrated with. This episode, I was totally on her side. I loved everything she did, mainly because there was another group frustrating me, and that's the Triple S's.
The Triple S's?
Sims Sucky Squad. Those guys had Juliette trapped on one level of the silo. There's a big stairwell. You can see them coming or going. They lost Juliette. Sims, not good, my friend. Not good. 9 out of 10.
Only one answer, Bubba, and that is Juliette found the double E.
Double E?
Elusive elevator.
That has to be it. Let me tell you something. Yeah. Tim Robbins as Mayor Bernard. He is not chewing scenery. He's swallowing scenery. This is incredible. Billings, Paul Billings, let's be honest. He's losing his grip. Don't pardon the pun. Oh, hello. I'm telling you, this episode, I've been up and down on this season. I love this episode. 9 out of 10. What'd you give it?
Well, I can tell that you are excited, Bubba, because you are just slinging those bad puns left and right. I am giving this one an even higher rating than I gave last week's episode, which was very high. I'm giving this 9.7 out of 10 quadruple A's.
That's pretty high, but wait, how many A's?
Quadruple. Whoa. That's 4 for those of you at home. That is astute and awesome Anthony's. Sims Kid Anthony is the best. I'm telling you, we work so hard, not you and me because we're both childless, but we work so hard to teach the next generation the important things in life. And Anthony has already learned, if you don't like someone, make them go out to clean. I love that about Anthony. Another reason I love this episode is because I'm now waiting for people to defend Juliette for threatening a wife and innocent child.
Innocent? That kid?
Well, okay. As far as she knew, innocent.
Okay.
There's so many things that happen in this episode. It is really just picking up. It is thrilling. We're learning stuff about the hard drive. I'm going to dock it 0.3 points for double G. George's googly-eyed message. Oh my goodness.
Creepy George.
Just ridiculous. I've used you, but also loved you. You know what? I think George had access to, Bubba. A lot of 80s teen and young person comedies. I was doing this for a different reason, but I really actually fell in love with you.